there's a lot of interesting people to psychoanalyze.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've sat with a lot of people that try to psychoanalyze you and go through it.
Yeah.
A lot of them. Most important person I psychoanalyze is myself all the time.
Absolutely.
One time I sat down, I had a list of 83 questions that was given to me. And one of the questions was, who annoys you the most? Why?
Yeah.
Who do you get along with the most? Why?
Yeah.
Who do you not get along the most? Why? Yeah. And then I'm at the beach, I'm going through this question, I'm like, holy shit. Then you notice a trend. Like, no wonder I don't get along with people like this. Because you remind me of this.
Yeah.
No wonder I get along with you because you bring a certain level of safety.
Yeah.
No wonder I'm okay in these types of chaotic situations because I feel peaceful in chaotic situations. No wonder I'm scared shitless and paranoid when things are too peaceful because I've not lived in this kind of a situation.
Yeah.
So then you're like, okay, now I understand who you are, guy. Now let me live with you. It's kind of like you're, living with yourself. So influence of that over you, what positive or negative influence? You talk about your dad, you said women, what was it? Booze, gambling, right? You talk about that. We also talk about the positive influence of that. What positive or negative influence did mom have over you?
Yeah, so my mother was fantastic. She was an amazing mother. I don't know if I can talk about positive and negatives. My mother was very much subservient to my father, which was a good thing. They used to have arguments, etc. And I think I learned a lot of my lessons, I guess, on male-female dynamics to a degree from my childhood. Like I remember one time my father was away at a chess tournament for a month and a half. He was away for a really long time. He was at a chess tournament playing chess all over the country. Came back after a month and a half. Within 45 minutes, him and my mom are arguing. I think she found something in his pocket, phone numbers. I don't know what it was. Started arguing. He just walked in the house. And they started arguing, and he came down to me and said, son, give me a hug. Gave him a hug. He goes, all right, see you in a few weeks. I was like, where are you going? He goes, when you're older, you'll understand. Your mother won't shut up. Walked out the door. I didn't see him again for 2 weeks. That's who he was. Like, I come home. Oh, you want to fuck this? Fine. That's how he was as a man, right? So I learned, I'm not saying that I'm that way, but this is my childhood, right? I saw it. But my mother was quite subservient to my father. My father was certainly a disciplinarian. He was certainly the man who was in charge of the house. My mother did her job fantastically. She taught us how to read. She fed us very well. She made sure we ate good. And my dad's basic tenet was, your mother is in charge of keeping you alive. Food, go to bed on time, eat good, go to school. She's in charge of keeping you alive. But I'm in charge of teaching you how to be a man and conquer the world. So we have different roles. So she's going to keep you alive. I'm going to turn up when I turn up. I'm going to teach you some shit.
I'm going to teach you how to live.
I'm going to teach you how to live. And they're different things. So they had very clear defined roles. To this day, my mother, she's still alive. I've retired her completely. So the first thing I did when I got rich was retire my mother. First thing I did, because my mother was, when they broke up. So the sad story of my father, which I've never told, but I'll tell it now. My father was in the Air Force. He discharged. After they diagnosed him with narcissistic personality disorder, they offered him a full military pension, $6,000 or $7,000 a month, saying that, you have this mental disorder. We'll give it to you because you were such a fantastic member of the Air Force. My dad was actually in intelligence. Some right-wing people on the internet think I'm a CIA plant because my father was with intelligence. I'm not a CIA plant. But my father was in intelligence. So when my father joined the Air Force, he got on the bus, like everyone else did back then in Alabama, got on the bus. You go, you do an IQ test. My father did so good, they moved him to intelligence. And my father, to this day, still holds, I believe. At the time of his death, he still held it. The fastest assimilation of a foreign language. So back in the 80s and 90s, if they needed someone who speaks Russian, they'd train a native English or American person. Nowadays, you can get an Estonian or a Latvian because they're pro-EU and they speak Russian fluently. It's easy. Back then, you need a Russian speaker to teach them. So they taught my dad Russian. He learned Russian fluently in 15 days, head to toe. So he held the fastest assimilation of the Russian language. I know that because when he died, I got a message on Facebook, Meta. I got a message on Facebook from a guy who I had never heard of, just saying, hi, you don't know who I am. I was in the Air Force with your father. I heard of his passing. I just want to let you know that I was in the same place as your father. I was a linguist also for the Air Force. At the time, I was living with a Russian woman and we spoke Russian fluently in the house. And your father and I started classes at the same time. And I can say with certainty, the way your father learned things was inhuman. It was robotic. Within 3 weeks, he was correcting me on my Russian. That's who he was, right? So he spoke Russian and Spanish and German. We were also in Berlin at the fall of the Berlin Wall. So he did a lot of things. So he was a linguist. So he used to listen to the bugs. If they bugged a room, he'd listen to the bug in Russian and translate it. So that's what my father did. But anyway, when they discharged him, they said he had narcissistic personality disorder. And the reason they said he had that is because he refused to listen to one of his commanders. I don't know the exact story, so I don't want to say it on tape, but he refused to listen to one of his commanders about a recording on a tape. And my father was arguing with him about the translation of a certain word. My father believed it was slang for something else. Superior believed it was something else. They got into a personal beef. It developed over months and months and months of arguments about translations. And eventually, my dad ended up being told to sweep outside for 8 hours a day. And I got to the point where my father got discharged. So when they discharged him, they diagnosed him with narcissistic personality disorder because they said he wouldn't listen. And they offered him this military pension, and he refused it. He said, "My sanity is not for sale." And I know that line because my mother used to scream all the time when we were broke in the house. "You could have had money, Emery. My sanity's not for sale." Because we went broke. Because now we went broke. Now we went broke, right? So I remember them arguing, "Emery, we could have had money. Now we're broke." So because he became a professional chess player, he couldn't pay the bills, and we were living in Indiana and South Chicago. We were in the ghetto with no money. So I remember him saying that all the time. So eventually, my mother was English. We decided to move back to England because England has social housing. You get a free house and you can get benefits and that kind of thing. We moved back, and my father stayed there. So I didn't see my father very much from the time I moved. But my mother was always in charge of keeping me alive, and he was just in charge of like giving me the lessons and stuff. So yeah, it was an interesting life. But he was a super principled man. Like, he turned down money. What was actually interesting towards the end of his life, about 3 or 4 years before he died. No, it must have been way before that, because I didn't have money yet. Maybe 10 years before he died, he called me and said, "I've been principled for so long, and the way the world's turning and what American government's doing, and maybe I should have just signed. Or do you think I should have just signed?" He didn't say maybe. He said, "Do you think I should have just signed?" I said, "No, Dad, no, you get to live with a pure heart. You shouldn't have just signed." Because your mother's saying that I should just sign it now and because I get back pay.
Sign what exactly?
Sign the narcissistic personality disorder, sell his sanity, and get back pay, which at the time would be like $500,000.
By the way, just so you know, a lot of people signed it. A lot of military. I mean, people who got out, you signed, you get all this incredible pension, back pay.
And why do they want you to sign this? Why do they want his father to sign this?
They want to sign it because he admits fault. It's all your fault. You're wrong about everything. You're a psycho. Your sanity is for sale. You sell your sanity for $5,000 a month.
Your disability is for
your
sale.
Disability, yeah. So he found out that he could get back pay if he signed it. So he had a long conversation with me, and I said, "Look, Dad, I think you did the right thing. I'm so proud of you." And we talked back and forth. And he said, "You know what? Your mother," this is the time we didn't have money. "Your mother is a dinner lady." My mother was a dinner lady at this point. After we moved to England, we had some things, but she was a dinner lady. She got like $400 a month for cleaning plates. She had arthritis. She was starting to get bad knee from standing up all day. Because, I'm not even with her anymore. She caused me so many headaches, but I can't let her just wash dishes, son. I might just sign it. I was like, "Well, Dad, the choice is yours." My dad agreed. He goes, "Look, I'm running out of time anyway. I'm running out of life. I taught you boys a lesson. You know what I need." He went to sign it. He went to the military to try and sign it for the back pay. They declined him. They said, "You're not crazy anymore." No, wouldn't give him the money. Funny that. So let's talk about, that's another story. So when he died, I still didn't have that much money. But then after he died, luckily I started to make money about a year, 2 years later. And because he tried to retire my mother, obviously I also have an own debt to my mother. The first thing I did when I made money was retire my mother. So I'd say to this day, about 15 to 20% of my income goes to my mother. And she has panic attacks. Like, she'll check her bank and be like, "What is it? This is too much money. I can't buy it." She's like scared of it. I'm like, "Just buy a Lambo. Chill. It's fine."
If you enjoyed this video and you want to watch the entire podcast, click over here. And if you want to be connected with experts, influencers such as Kiyosaki, Tate, Connolly, Paul Menteri, myself, and others, download the app Minect, where you get a chance to connect with these folks by the minute. You get to buy the minute or have FaceTimes with them, 15 minutes, ask them any questions you may want to have. Download the app Minect and start connecting with influencers and experts today.